because I want to explain what's going on this planet, where we are, where we've been, and where we're going. So where we have been is in a lower state of consciousness. And if you look at the map of consciousness of the planet, in 1987 we were at the 90 level, the 90 level, which is very negative. And then in around the early 200s, we jumped to over 200. And a lot of different things happened. Enron got exposed, and a whole bunch of illegal banking got exposed. And what was happening is when the light comes into the darkness is shown up for what it is. So if you were to look at our world today, and you see war, and you see conflict, and you see violence, and you see women and children and people starving, that's ridiculous. We have enough food to feed everybody. We have enough money on this planet to clothe and shelter everybody. There is enough money on this planet to take care of everyone. And you can look at it and you say, well, why hasn't it happened? Well, it's kind of interesting. You can read a variety of different things, but the essence of it is that we were kind of dumbed down into a 2-strand DNA instead of a 12-strand DNA. Now, how many of you have heard the scientists talk about these other 10 strands of DNA? And what do they say about it? What do they call it? Junk DNA. Junk DNA. Our divinity wrapped up in our DNA, and scientists call it junk DNA because they don't know what it is. So as we look at the new year, there are a lot of people that are scared stiff, and a lot of people are concerned, and a lot of people are concerned with what has happened in this last year and what's been going on with Syria and here and there and all over the world in different places. And would you say we have chaos? Yes, absolutely, we have chaos. Yeah, that's the good news. Now you want now you want to hear the other good news? Chaos is a prelude to order. As a matter of fact, I wrote a little poem about this a while back, and a minister friend of mine was involved in the church, and they were involved in some new beginnings. So she asked me to write a poem that she could use during her talk. So this is called New Beginnings. I wrote it in 2015. Chaos is the prelude to a new order, so they say. So today's challenges are the prelude to a new day. At the start of our life, we got a hard slap on the butt. And it felt to us like we were starting life in a rut. But it was that slap that started the breath that we needed. And with it, our basic life need of breathing was heeded. Change's new beginnings can sometimes seem so severe, yet at some point, we reap the harvest as we persevere. As you face a new beginning, expect something greater, and you will manifest greater good sooner than later. And this is actually where we are on this planet. We are at a stage of, well, I think, how many of you know about Patricia Cota Robles? How many know about Patricia Cota Robles? Okay, Patricia Cota Robles is a spiritual teacher. She's been around on this planet. She goes all over the world, teaches all over the world. And this is a missive from Patricia Cota Robles. I'm going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to read the key part of it. She says, according to the company of heaven. Now, the company of heaven is the angels, the archangels, the ascended masters, and all the higher beings and Father, Mother, God. The whole troop, okay? So, according to the company of heaven, an unprecedented influx of light will be anchored on earth through the divinity of every person's heart flame. You don't just have a heart, you have a soul in you, and that soul is a divine flame. And so that heart flame they're talking about is our divine soul. So this will be anchored on earth through the divinity of every person's heart flame by his or her I am presence. When Moses asked God, who are you? And God said, I am. I am that I am. And in each of us dwells this I am Christ presence. We don't have to find it. We don't have to look for it. We don't have to give birth to it. It already exists. And in the process we're going through, we're in the process of releasing this Christ from the chaos into the divine order. So the purpose is to assist each person's I am present be able to use this light to assist with his or her greatly accelerated transformation through the rest of the year. Did you hear that last part? Through the rest of the year. Not the rest of the century or the decade or the millennium, but the rest of the year. She says, as we birth the new year 2017, awakening humanity and the company of heaven have set the stage for a paradigm shift. A paradigm shift. Ernest Holmes talks about this when he talks about evolution. And in evolution, everything goes along just like nothing's happening. It's doubling, 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 and then zip! All of a sudden, there's this enormous acceleration. And that's where we're at right now. We're in that zip. And it's definitely up. And she says, she says, awakening humanity and the company of heaven have set the stage for a paradigm shift that will allow the masses of humanity to transcend the negativity that has been pushed to the surface for purification during the shocking and tumultuous events that occurred in 2016. Does that make sense? See, the problem is that when you light the light, you see what's in the dark. And we're lighting the light on this planet, and so the dark has come up for exposure. And actually, it's not only coming up for exposure, but it's coming up for healing. And she says, I know this may sound too good to be true, but it's only because we have forgotten the truth of who we are and why we are on earth at this auspicious time. And her letter goes on to say a number of other things. And she does mention that the new earth was actually birthed in the realms of cause. See, everything must be born in the realm of cause before it can show up in the realm of effect. Right now, we're all living in the realm of effect, right? But if you pay attention to the Science of Mind teachings, the prelude to our future lies in our thoughts, feelings, emotions, and beliefs. And so we have to pay attention to our thoughts. And so as we're going through the current time, and we're looking at all this chaos, and you look at Russia and China and America, and this guy's a good guy, that's a guy, that's a bad guy. And most of us have no idea what's really going on. I'll give you an example. The Chancellor of Germany was going through a foreign country, and somebody tried to invade the party, and they stopped the person, so they weren't sure just exactly what that person was going to do, if he was going to try to kill the chancellor or whatever. However, if you look in the various newspapers of the world, you'll read the story. If you read in American newspapers, no story. Isn't that strange? No story. But we've known for quite a while that our news and so forth are controlled by a lot of the negative forces, and that's going to change. So you might say, well, what's going to change it? So I'd like to put this on a very personal level of what's going to change it. You and I are going to change it. You and I are going to change it. And this is why I wanted to do this talk today, because people look at the world and they get all scared and afraid and so forth. And they forget that we are divine beings. We're divine beings who came here on a mission to help this planet through a transition time and through what we call an ascension period. We're not going anywhere. It's going to be right here. But I want to ask you a question. What do you think this planet would be like if every person on the planet had an awareness of their oneness with each other? Wow. Wow. You ready for this? That's what's coming. That's what's coming. Okay? Obviously, we're in the transitional stage. We're not at the finished stage. I think we'll all agree to that one, right? Yes. Now, we're getting a lot of help from the higher levels, And the higher levels are pouring a lot of love into the earth. And what's happening in this year, as Patricia talks about, between the 1st and the 11th, this influx of light and love will come in. And what it's going to do is it's like reawakening our awareness of the oneness. Now I want to take this to a very personal level. For me, I've mentioned before, the first 40 years of my life, I never experienced the presence of the oneness or anything. And then after that, it was an experience of the oneness and some gradual other things. And across the last couple of years, my experiences of the presence are increasing more frequently and more intensely. And when I ask this question here, how many here experience the same thing, 25 of the 30-some hands went up. Well, from the 1st to the 11th, these energies are coming in. And I want to tell you that today already I have had 4 experiences of being overwhelmed by that love and that presence. 4 experiences. And when that love and that presence come in, I just put my hand on my, like that. And talking about it brings it in. It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. To experience the love of the 5th dimension or higher levels is an overwhelming experience. When we think we see unconditional love on this level. When you feel the presence of an angel, an archangel, ascended master, or a higher being, it is just absolutely overwhelming, breathtaking. It truly is breathtaking. And when it comes in, because we're not accustomed to that level of love and light and energy, it overwhelms us. Now, the good news is that every time you get overwhelmed by that presence, it is raising your vibration. It's raising your vibration. So, many of us have been going through physical problems, emotional problems, financial problems, and different things. And that's part of our shadow side coming up for healing. It's not anything you want to get all shook up about. You want to look it in the face and say, yes, I have something to handle here, I'll handle it. The other thing is, what is going to take this planet into the next generation, into what we call that 5th dimension of peace and love and joy and happiness, where there is no poverty on the planet and where there is only peace on the planet and love and awareness of God. What is going to take us there? The crux of it is that we are spiritual beings and every one of us has a responsibility. We all have a responsibility to change ourselves because every individual contributes to the collective unconsciousness. Ernest Holmes talked about it as race mind, and Carl Jung talked about it as collective unconsciousness. And it is the repository of all the thoughts, feelings, emotions, and beliefs of all people of all time. And that is like a subtle suggestion to the minds of the human beings. And so during the earlier times, people accepted the negativity and the killings and everything and just thought it was all part of life. Well, the more we mature and the more we move up into our consciousness and into our intelligence, the more that we understand war is insane. War is absolutely insane. And all the other negative things that we see in this world are a form of insanity too. It's been justified, it's been glorified and so forth, but we will be seeing an end to war. Sounds hard to believe, doesn't it? Sounds hard to believe. Now this is where we come in. In a time of challenge, in this transitional state, our job is to know the truth. This is the whole teaching of Science of Mind. The whole teaching of Science of Mind is to know and to be the truth. To be the light and the love and the peace and the joy and the happiness and the prosperity and the wisdom and the understanding, the empathy, all the wonderful spiritual attributes. This is our job. And our job now is to do our part. So what is our part? Our part involves a number of things. First of all, we got to get out of fear. Out of fear, absolutely out of fear. How do you get out of fear? Look it in the face. I love the Oriental story that says if you feel the hot breath of the dragon on your neck, turn around and face it, and it disappears. It's a metaphor for facing our fears. I had to face my fear when I was in the hospital with cancer, and they had removed the tumor, but they had not done a scan. They had no idea of the extent through my body. And I remember in that talk I had with God after everybody left the room, and I got no answers, and then I said, okay, I just surrender it up to you, whether it's life or death or whatever. I know it's your will, and you always take care of me, and I'm just going to walk in my peace. And I walked through that whole situation with total peace and no fear. No fear. No fear. I didn't know if I had cancer in my body or throughout my whole body or not. How do you do that? You do that with the help of the divine. You do that through the great surrender. When we make that great surrender, we turn all of our fears and our life over to the loving source. Before I do every talk, I surrender to the loving source. And you notice the paper's on the table. Because before I do every talk, whatever I'm supposed to say that's on that paper, I will be led to use. And what isn't on that paper that I should be saying, I will be led to say. So our job is a challenging one. And the reason is because we've been programmed by fear and negativity and lack and poverty and criticism and unworthiness. So the first big job that we have to overcome, and this one is an absolute must for all of us. The first big one we must overcome is all self-criticism, self-doubt, self-hate, lack of self-love. That is what creates the most major sense of separation. When you have eliminated that self-criticism, you find people beautiful. Beautiful. They're just absolutely beautiful. And at some point, you'll begin to feel the soul of somebody like Lenore. And your heart cries. Because you feel them at a heart level. Or Claudia. You feel the beauty of the real soul. That is who we really are. We are these beautiful, exquisite, spiritual beings who came into a physical level in order to help Mother Earth, Gaia, whatever you want to call the spirit of Earth, through this transition time. And if you look at a number of spiritual sources over and over and over and over and over, you'll read that we volunteered for it. Sometimes the truth is tumultuously humorous. I thought, boy, for me to come in and volunteer while I went through this life, I must have been insane coming in. But now I see it all. And not only do I see it all, but I'm not visual and I'm not audio. I am kinesthetic. And kinesthetic means I feel. And so for me, I am feeling what is happening in this time. And Victoria is well aware of it because she sees at different times, I'll just sit there and she'll know what's happening, that love has come in. And when the last talk I did, it was Christmas time actually, I ask you to, when you do your prayer, to call in all the higher beings. And so what I notice happening now is because I've been doing this for a little while, and when I start a prayer, I say, I call it. I can't even get past it. And you see, we are so loved by the higher levels. To them, we are the troops on the ground. Make a comparison between the difference of living in peace, love, joy, happiness, and everything's wonderful and hunky-dory and beautiful, and life on this planet. Yes, is it any wonder they consider us the troops on the ground? But they are here to help us. But we have to do our part. And our part is to change our thinking, because the greatest thing that we do is to change our thinking and do the prayer work. So here's a couple of items we have to do. Number one, The higher beings cannot interfere, take part, help you do whatever unless you ask for it. Because it can't interfere with your free will, okay? So we have to get out of our egos and out of our pride and our self-independence and all this other stuff and realize that we are interdependent people. Not codependent, not independent, not dependent, but interdependent. And that means that we are all here to help and serve each other. So we need to move out of all self-judgment and self-criticism, because how do you experience the love when you're in a state of criticism? A long time ago I shared the story about the root, where I criticized the root and then I experienced the presence of God in the root. And I realized what I had done. I had called it ugly and amorphic and whatever. And at the time I mentioned that, I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know who you were." And it said, "Nor I you." Well, I had created a sense of separation by seeing that as something ugly or despicable. Our challenge is to, number one, stop judging and criticizing ourselves, stop judging and criticizing other people, and stop speaking the negative. There's a lot of negative situations out there, and they're in the process of evolution. And when we watch TV and get caught up all the propaganda of all the war stuff and all the negativity and all the violence, we contribute to it. We contribute to it because our energies are really who we are. Our thoughts activate our feelings. Our feelings go into the law of cause and effect. When that feeling is one of anger and righteousness, that goes into the law of cause and effect. That isn't what's going to heal the planet. One thing is going to heal the planet: love. 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 So we need to become self-loving, loving of others, loving of Mother Earth, and loving of all life. And we need to move back into what our true state is and was, and really never has diminished from the spiritual level, which is our reverence for all life. Our reverence for all life. So my challenge to you is that as you go through this week and this year, that you remember that you are a critically important part of changing this planet. Every thought, feeling, emotion you have is contributing to that collective unconsciousness. Now, how much difference does a person make who is loving? That's level 500 on the map of consciousness. That one person can offset the negativity of 217,000 people below 200. Is that impressive? Can you see the difference you make? Don't you think that most people in this room are loving? Yes. Yes, most people in this room are loving. If there are, I can't even imagine that we have any exceptions to that. All right? Now, you ready for the next step? If you kick your love level up to unconditional love, which is level 540, you now offset the negativity of 2.7 million people under 200. 2.7, you can affect 2.7 million people by being unconditionally loving. Is that enough of a challenge to accept, to boost you on your spiritual path? This is a time of change. No excuses, no rationalizations. This is a time of change. You don't make a New Year's resolution. You make an absolute inner conviction, promise to yourself to make the changes. And the changes will come. The changes will come. Never fear. So I want to end this talk by going into the prayer. And please join me in consciousness. And what I want you to do is I want you to call in the higher beings to join you. And I want you to focus on your heart as you do it. And you may want to close your eyes and have a hanky nearby. I call on the higher beings to join us in our prayer. The angels, the archangels, the ascended masters, Father, Mother, God, the higher dimensional light beings, the Galactic Federation, our beautiful galactic family, all to join us in this prayer. In the oneness with Father, Mother, God, we send light, love, and healing energies into the planet itself. And in that same oneness, we send love, light, and healing energies into the spirit of the planet, our beloved Gaia, our beloved Earth. And in that oneness, we send love, light, and healing energies into all life on Earth. And as we do this prayer, and that beautiful love comes through us, we know this is a great year. This is a Happy New Year. And I wish you all Happy New Year, and I know you're all doing your part in helping to raise the consciousness of this planet so that we experience this wonderful process that is unvolving, where we come back into the fullness of our spiritual beings, but in the physical bodies here on Earth. So be it, and together we say, and so it is.